It's not every day that you get to drive something like this, the Brabus 900 Rocket R, based on the Porsche 911 992 generation Turbo S. Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel, where you join me today here in Bottrop, Germany, inside the workshop with this one of 25 extraordinary thing. We're going to take a look around it, go through the details, the wide body package, the full carbon fiber works that have been done to it, the complete masterpiece interior, and then we're going to get it started. We're going to take it out for a little drive and go see what this is like. We're talking a car that is 7 centimeters wider than standard. It has massive arches and some crazy design. When this thing was first introduced, and I was at the Brabus signature night, when they pulled off the covers, it was a big wow moment. What happens when Brabus go outside of the normal envelope and take a Turbo S and make it into something crazy? And that is what today is all about discovering. It's not just the exterior work, the wheels, the suspension, the exhaust. It's also what this is going to be like to drive, and that's what's coming up. Step one, we need to take a walk around of this thing because there's a lot going on. From the carbon fiber bodywork to the engine upgrades to then experiencing what it's like. Now, I've been for a full tour here at Brabus to see the expansion and to see the workshop where we're currently located, which is where these are assembled, the 900 Rocket R. 900, of course, represents the amount of power that this thing boasts. Now, if you thought your 992 Turbo S didn't have enough, there's the solution. The standard car has 650 horsepower. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this is that the top speed of the car had to be limited to preserve the tires. It is limited to only 340 kilometers an hour, which is about 213 miles per hour. No shortage of speed then. Let's see what the Autobahn brings a little bit later on. So, to go through the design, the details, the Rocket R, the Rocket from Brabus has always been basically the flagship, the really standout models. Having worked on the new Turbo S with various different models, including the 820 beforehand, this was the first time doing a full package, all of which were instantly sold out, all 25 cars. I'm sure they could have made 50, if not maybe even 75 or 100 or something. The demand for this from the day it launched was absolutely through the roof. As you come in a little bit closely, you can see, for example, an entirely new look front end. The car is wider than standard, it's more open for the cooling, maintains all of the adaptive sensors and everything that you need, obviously, for good running. We've got exposed carbon fiber for the lower sections and for these surrounds here, but it's all carbon. We've got a bonnet that I was told by the Brabus guys not to talk too much about in carbon fiber. Come round though, because you've got these much wider arches, and in fact the shape here and what you can see particularly as you come around towards the fuel filler cap represents how much wider this is than the standard design with these carbon fiber add-ons and the full carbon fiber wings that the car wears. Wheels we should talk about, the new monoblock P wheel that is made specifically for this car because of the offset. We've got the turbofan style with the carbon fiber blades over the top, center lock as well, and these Continental tires as I mentioned. You'll notice also inside here around is a Kevlar wheel arch liner, which probably means we hear that when we're driving, but also saves some weight, looks very cool as well. Come down the side, Rocket R 900 badging, and of course this particular car is super black, it's black on black on black. We've got the red accent details though for the 900 designation. Carbon fiber mirror caps, extra openings here. I mean, look at this. This is of course for the cooling, these enlarged scoops around the side with these add-on arches, which actually make the rear of this thing 6.8 centimeters wider than standard, 68 millimeters wider. This is a big, wide tail. 22-inch wheel at the back, there's a 21-inch wheel at the front, and then you come round to the integrated ducktail. Now gone is the active spoiler at the back. In its place, this purpose-developed, and remember this is all wind tunnel tested, ducktail spoiler. And what I particularly like is not only is the spoiler actually carbon fiber, even though it's painted black, this carbon fiber add-on at the back of it, come and look closely here at the way it's been designed to look natural, integrated and correct. It would be very easy to just bolt that onto the back, but no, that wouldn't be the Brabus way. Look a little bit lower at the back here. Carbon fiber insert with the Brabus graphic along the back of it, and then lower down, the full carbon fiber diffuser active exhaust system, which works with the integrated driving modes inside the car, as does the suspension, by the way, the new suspension system for it. And these are very nice. The way these are actually 3D printed to make the effect that you have on those tailpipes, of course with the Brabus badging up on the top of them as well. that's not all. Come to the interior of the car so I can show you a little bit more inside here. Unlock it, handles pop out, because this has the full Brabus Masterpiece interior. We're talking every single surface covered in the finest leather. Obviously the seats and the inlays, but even look down in the footwell, the floor mats and the entire surround areas, down in the carpet sections, the pedals, the carbon fibre illuminated side sills as well, the door cards, and this trim pattern that you see throughout can of course be completely customised using the configurator, but it's everything. The side panels here are covered in leather. These panels here on the dashboard are covered in leather. The central tunnel is covered in leather. The entire rear section of the car is covered in leather. One thing you might be wondering though, one single panel that isn't, is this, and there's a reason for it. This is actually left because as you swing in and out, your feet scrape on it, and you don't want to ruin the leather. So that's very much by design, although of course, should you wish to have that in leather, you certainly can. Everything though, top to bottom, steering wheel completely redone. We've got the shadow chrome detailing as well, instead of the regular bright chrome all around for the controls and accents. Many, many other very, very nice touches inside here. Now, I'm going to pop open the engine flap at the back, although I should make the point, obviously, that it's a 911. The engine is back here, and you can't see anything, just a couple of fans. But long story short, 3.7 litre twin turbocharged flat six. In this, power up from 650 to 1000. That means that acceleration, 650 to 900, torque is 1000 Newton meters. Acceleration 0 to 100 is 2.5 seconds. Acceleration 0 to 200 kilometers an hour, which is 124 miles an hour, 7.2 seconds. This thing is fast. Permanent all-wheel drive, PDK gearbox. I think I'm about to be in for a pretty wild ride. So, should we get it started? Take it out of the workshop, have some fun, see what the 900 Rocket R is like to experience. Come along with me. We are on the move, heading out of Bottrop, past the fantastic location that Brabus have here. So obviously at the moment in normal, comfort, take it easy, chilled mode, before we go and find both some Autobahn, which may or may not be de-restricted, and some countryside lanes to experience this. Because the idea, I think, with this car is that it's not only a dynamic mad machine, but it's also a comfortable but sporty, daily, does everything type of car, right? That's what the Turbo S is to begin with in its normal form, which is a very fast car to begin with as well. It's sitting a touch lower, it is of course a touch wider, but everything that you physically touch inside, even the dashboard, the steering wheel, are all the finest of materials. The Brabus B that is embossed on the steering wheel, something that was synonymous with the very top end of Mercedes AMG Maybach type models, but now of course they've expanded beyond the portfolio, which had already grown into Range Rovers and certain other models, into this world, creating a complete project based on the Turbo S. And this is a big deal. This is a big car. So let me try and find somewhere where we can go and open it up a little bit, have a bit of fun with this, and share with you what it's actually like to drive and experience something this special. The first thing I have to say in here that I just discovered and kind of threw me off for a second is, if we slow it down, I'm going to use a bit of kick down, listen to the sound of the blow off. Listen to this. What a cool sound. Amazing. Of course, bigger turbos in this thing. This is just in normal mode. Obviously we'll get loads more exhaust sound. In fact, let's turn it up into sport. Yep, that dropped the gears quite aggressively just there. The tone is kind of interesting. There's more, I'm going to say almost more towards an NA type of sound. Obviously, it's still turbocharged. This is that, I mean, you don't realize this is 100 miles an hour, 160 kilometers an hour, just taking it easy, gently, driving for the time being. PDK gearboxes are fantastic, super responsive. Welcome to Germany. An opportunity to enjoy the performance of a car. And of course, like this is fairly normal driving, right? We're just cruising, getting the temps up in the car because we've basically just started and left Brabus and coincidentally have a basically completely empty road. The blow-off valve sound is hilarious. That's really quite fun. every time you lift off, even quite low in the throttle range, often in cars that have been modified like that, if you want to get that sound, it only happens right up towards the very top. I like how responsive the gearbox is. Just a small press of the throttle pedal and it's immediately ready to go, ready to bounce. Let's see if we can find an open stretch when things have warmed up a bit. I'm going to pop this into manual. I always like driving with pedals, if available. Drop down some gears, feed in some of the power. Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it just keeps building. It almost feels like it gets quicker as you get more up through the rev range. I mean, that's the thing with these cars. The ride is significantly firmer than a standard car. I noticed that even on fairly smooth tarmac, you feel that there are some bumps and things going on. But this is a crazy thing in Germany. We're following a little Opel Corsa and we're going 105 miles an hour, 170 kilometers an hour. Only here. But hopefully we'll get a slightly empty stretch. If he pulls in, there we go. He's probably looking in his mirrors. People here have incredible lane etiquette. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It's 280 kilometers an hour in nothing. And it's still pulling phenomenally at that speed. 280 is about 175 miles an hour. I mean, you'd expect it to feel confident, powerful, and crazy fast. And it absolutely is. Whew. That was quite the kind of adrenaline rush, I want to say. One of the things with these cars is that they always just make your heart race a little bit, you know, just that acceleration feeling, that propulsion. You cling on tight, kind of like, what is this thing? What's it doing? As we wait for the cars in front of us to tuck back in and open up the road. Polo from the Netherlands, drop down to 4th gear, back on the throttle. The way this accelerates, the way those numbers on the dashboard climb. There's certainly a little bit of movement though. I guess because it's not quite so heavily aero-based as, say, the GT Black series, which of course I've done a ton of miles in recently at very high speed. But regardless, it's just unbelievably quick. Down to 5th gear, open road. I cannot believe how quick this thing is. I mean, it's 305 kilometers an hour or so. So we go heavily on the brakes. The cars ahead. That is really fast. That's about 189 miles an hour. In such a small, short stint. You have to appreciate, this is like hypercar performance. This is hypercar fast on the Autobahn here. Got some burbles from it, obviously the exhaust heating up. Whew, it's an adrenaline rush and a half. I hadn't yet turned this into Sport Plus, which of course drops the gears. Super aggressive on the gearbox and also very, very firm on the suspension. Big thing you notice, this is all adaptive. So if you go the other way and drop it down to normal or wet or set it for individual, obviously it gets significantly softer, a whole lot more comfortable. But an opportunity to start throwing it into some of the turns. You always in a four-wheel drive car feel the extra weight of the front drivetrain. It's just kind of how it works. And in here, I'm not going to pretend it's an especially light feeling car, which in a way is nice because you've got the confidence of the steering wheel, the feel of the thing. I'm going to turn it back into, probably sport is right here, manual, because then you get all these burbles, bangs, pops and sounds going on behind me. You probably notice on this tarmac, which is a little bit bumpier, we are definitely bouncing around a little bit, which is certainly an observation to be made about this thing. Second gear behind an RV, which hopefully I'll have an opportunity to overtake out of the next corner, because I'd rather not go at 60 in a 100 limit. Anyway, yes, it's completely open. Around we go. It's so easy and effortless when you have the power of a car like this. Just rides, and the idea, right, it's a daily, it's supposed to be something you can use in every type of environment. You've got all the tech in here as well, adaptive cruise control, all the different safety systems, blind spot monitoring, etc, etc. You've got a nice sound system, and you've got a car which has another kind of sound system going on behind, with all of these different and crazy sounds. Things like the burbles to the blow-offs. If I slow it down for a moment, now that the RV's quite a long way behind the camper behind us. Second gear, just all of the blow-off noises. Lift off. That's cool, isn't it? Active exhaust. You can close that and change it up as well, depending exactly how you would like it. And it's one of the funny things I was just thinking about. Back when I first visited Brabus, over 10 years ago, at that stage, they were one of the first to be able to make in-car controls be in charge of things like active exhaust valve flaps. Back then, you'd always have a little fob, a little attachment, whereas they were figuring out how to code the Mercs at the time to be able to have it all built in, which is quite fun to think about. Now that's just kind of a normal thing that they were basically pioneering to some extent back at the time. I think there's no question it's a nice car to drive on these types of roads, and even though it's very wide, it doesn't feel too crazy. I mean, I'm lucky to drive lots of different supercars, and the Turbo S isn't a hugely wide car to begin with, so it's not a massive, massive, massive variation. So we get back to the open road, slow it right down, in fact, because I'm going to put my foot down. A little bit of an acceleration. Oh my gosh. Oh. When it fully unleashes the power, it gets a move on. I mean, the Turbo S is like the king of the drag strip because they can just do launch after launch after launch. Go, 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 without fail. Pretty cool thing, hey? We are going back onto the Autobahn, this time into Sport Plus. I will again pop it into manual though, but down the slip road, because I want to see if there's any notable difference when you're up into Sport Plus. Obviously at this level of power, whatever you do, it just feels like a lot. It feels like a serious amount of power. Foot down on the throttle. Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe there is a bit more there. Whoa. When you get to 100% throttle, it's very nervy. I'm only slightly on the throttle pedal there. That's not 100%. Just because I want to get comfortable with it before I really push the full throttle taps. It just cruises at high speed so remarkably well. Watch out for the car pulling out up ahead. You have to obviously, when driving at high speed, look a very long way up the road, especially at that kind of numbers, because those kind of numbers you need to be aware of what's happening in front of you. The advantage of slowing down is you get an open run in front though, potentially. So I can experience a little bit more of this, but the thing is, I can imagine this gets to the top speed of 340 with ease. It feels like it's not going to remotely struggle to do that, and that is an electronic limiter to protect the tyres, because at the end of the day, tyres going faster than that have to be rated correctly, and the development work that's needed for, well, very few places in the world where you can do it. Kind of get the point. It's quick. It's very, very, very ballistic, missile-esque quick. It's a patience game. Then you drop the gear, third gear, foot flat. Gosh, 100% throttle is a silly numbers game. A very, very, very silly numbers game. You can make some extraordinary progress down the Autobahn in this car. I'd love to do a timed drag strip session with it just to really see what the numbers are. I mean, this is the best part of 200 miles an hour to catch a car in front. Feel those turbos kick in. Well, this has been an interesting kinds of speeds go, I was on the brakes ready for that car to pull out, but he definitely didn't look before starting to move. As these kinds of things go, it's just the undramatic nature of incredible speed. And I think, you know, you're not getting to the VMAX, you're not doing 100% throttle, but knowing what the car can do, what it is capable of, is what's really interesting to me about it, to experience. And, you know, the fact that something like this is relatively easy to drive, I want to say. You know, you don't need to be a professional driver to get that right, to do that. You probably should be, given the amount of power that you have underneath your right foot, but you don't technically need to be. You need to purchase the car, and of course that carries a price tag. It's approximately 450,000 euros plus taxes, so in the region of 550,000 euros, which is somewhere just shy of 500,000 pounds. It's a lot of money, for sure, but obviously the demand has proven that it's there with the take-up for the 25 cars that were sold out instantly, just immediately gone, because Brabus haven't done many things like this, but it bodes well for what they can now go and do in the future, and the onwards projects that we're potentially going to see on platforms like this, on perhaps other platforms. And I've been trying to dig to see what they might be working on, but haven't got very much information on that front yet. I'm sure we shall see in the not too distant future. The other way around is to pop it into 8th gear on the PDK, pop it back into normal, and just completely cruise. Just enjoy the gentle drive. That's the two different natures, characters of this car, and we'll make our way back towards Bottrop, back towards Brabus HQ. We are in Germany, so of course we have found ourselves a Targa 4S that's in front. I'm sorry, I've kind of slightly blocked the driver. But 911s, German Autobahn, synonymous with one another. The other types of 911s, synonymous with the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the likes of the GT2 RS, GT3 RS. And I'm more in that camp. I prefer the extreme, well, firstly, sound of the NA engines, the spine-tingling sound at 9,000 RPM, whereas, of course, this tops out a little over 7,000. And I prefer the more track-focused style. Of course, in the case of like a new GT3 RS, it's so aggressively set up that on this kind of driving, you're feeling the setup. It's not particularly smooth. And that's, I guess, one of the things that the car allows, right? You can have a totally different experience from a regular Carrera all the way through the Targas, the different models, convertibles, etc., into the GT products, into the Turbo S as well. And Porsche obviously have a massive fan base, and there are many of the different cars out there in all of the different derivatives. So it's a no-brainer for Brabus to obviously offer something like this in normal. Oh, I'm still in manual, that's why, silly me. I was going to say, waiting for the kick down. There we go. Just enjoy the cruise. Although I did mention earlier, and I want to mention again, there is definitely some movement. It's not the most stable, and you know, I'm skewed on this because I've driven on Autobahns at high speed in lots of downforce cars, high downforce cars, which just stick to the tarmac, just absolutely down on the tarmac like glue. Whereas here, of course, there is aero that's wind tunnel tested, but it wants to just move around a little bit. It's got some good brakes on it, of course, but it's not necessarily the same high-speed stability as some other cars that I've experienced to date. Back at Brabus HQ then, inside is the 820 package on a Turbo S cab, but of course a few more things to show you in here quickly, namely just all of the lovely trim and materials. If you look at it, the full dashboard is obviously done, all of these parts are done, these are done, even the parts you don't really see. You know, when you open up the door, the parts that you have here, those are also finished with Brabus leather throughout. The carbon trim actually is redone. This is a larger weave, as you can see, than the standard car. You might have noticed the roof up above is regular carbon. That's an option from Porsche, from factory, but this is all just really wonderful. I would go with something a little bit bolder in terms of the spec, but this is the super black look that Brabus are famed for. I mean, even the parcel shelf back there, that rear shelf under the window is done. Obviously the rear seating areas and compartments, but this just has this wonderful combination of perforation, stitching. You can add the embroideries, you've got all the piping details, and the configurator here is truly second to nothing as well. I have spoken before something I don't like about Porsches, which is that's my, or rather 911s, that's my normal view. notice the fuel gauge over there. You just can't see it. It's hidden behind the steering wheel, and that drives me nuts. To see that chart, you have to actively look around. I know it's not that hard, but it's just a silly little thing that bugs me and has always bugged me. Same with this side, but you don't really need to see those, so it doesn't matter in the same way. I do like that they kept the central rev counter. I think it's such an iconic thing, that 5-dash dial display that Porsche's always had. And of course we've got the sport chrono clock up on the center of the dashboard as well. This is in normal mode, just quickly to hear this. Here it's kind of valved. Go the other way, go to Sport Plus. That is a soft limiter, so that is all you can do static. Welcome to 2024, hey? Cars and their rules and regulations. At least it's not pinging and chiming at me every second. So yeah, switch it off, steering wheel goes up, seat goes back, and get ready to step out. Well, the sun has come out in force, although black cars, I think cars need to be brightly coloured. There's certainly one yellow one of these I've seen pictures of, which looks amazing, because when you contrast all of this exposed carbon fibre, obviously with a nice bright paint colour, cars to me look incredible. Brabus carbon fibre is obviously amazing. They actually have acquired a company to help produce all of that, to make sure that it's all continued in-house, as so many of the other parts to make something like this are, which we saw when taking the full tour around. Things like the boot liner inside the front space are done as well. You can have that complete area finished. All of the nice details to the badging, and let's say you have a car with yellow calipers, even the Rocket R900 badge, you can have that with yellow accents and details as well. So this customization is amazing. I expected to hear more of the stones pinging in the arches. You don't really hear very many of those, despite the fact that instead of being a soft carpet-like texture, they are now from Kevlar. Obviously very light as a result, very strong as a result. And I mean, look at this thing. When it was introduced, pretty much everyone was like, wow, they've nailed that. Because they came into a segment where there have been lots of companies that have done modified 911s, right? Lots of companies have made wide body packages, but yet they still managed to make something new, something unique, something different to the other cars out there, with these designs, with the aerodynamics, with the setup of the whole thing. And for that, Brabus have to be commended. The demand has been there for each of the different rocket models that we've filmed over the years. I remember going back to the different, well, the AMG GT 4-door, for example, the G-Wagon, the 900 rocket of the G63, and now taking it to something else is just the icing on the 911 Turbo S cake. Now, of course, this is a 992.1, first gen 992. The 992.2 generation Turbo S is going to arrive, so I wonder what Brabus might do with that. Time will tell. I'm sure we're going to be seeing something amazing coming a little bit further down the line as well. For today though, thank you very much for joining me. We've had quite a run out, a couple of times, 300 kilometers an hour plus with ease. And that's what's so amazing about something like this, absolute ease. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to the team here at Brabus for the opportunity to come and take a look at this, take it out for a drive and share the experience with you. That's it for now. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.